also very, very important. And so the qualifications in this area are looking to address the knowledge and skills that people in those roles would actually need to perform their job. Basically, there is a foundation certificate, the Foundation in IT-Enabled Business Change, that steps across the area of business change and encourages anybody working in that area or anybody from another area to understand the sort of life cycle that we would apply for IT-enabled business change, the sorts of issues we need to look at. Building on that then, we have a range of practitioner certificates that I'll talk to you about in a moment, but each one of those certificates addresses a particular topic. So basically, you will find that a practitioner certificate will address a particular area of knowledge and skills that people need to perform business change work. Building on that then, we have the higher level, and there are 2 higher level qualifications in this particular area that I'll take you through in a moment. And depending upon the higher level qualification, some use a very modular approach to allow practitioners to have flexibility in how they get to that higher level qualification. The other one is a bit more specific, and you have to go through a prescribed route. But what these high level qualifications do is they hook into these key roles of business analysis and consultancy in the business change area. As you'll also see when we look at the qualifications, obviously business change doesn't sit in a vacuum, and you have to therefore have links to other areas. And so the qualifications internally look at other aspects within the ISEB portfolio, but there is a particular link to the systems development qualifications within the higher level business analysis qualification. All of the practitioner qualifications in this area, and one of the higher, is based upon either training or examinations delivered by organisations that are accredited by the ISEB to do so. And depending on the particular subject and on the level, it may be that they're written, it may be that it's a closed book exam, it may be open book. It may be an oral exam, and it depends upon what it is we're trying to examine in the candidates and what skills and attributes we would expect them to be able to present in order to get their qualification. So if we have a look at the practitioner level in the business change area, these are the practitioner level qualifications that are available. Some of you may have come across these before. Some of you sitting in the audience, I know, have already got some of these. But basically what each subject area does is it looks at a particular package, a package of knowledge and skills that people need. So if I just look at a couple of them, Business Analysis Essentials is the module, the practitioner qualification that actually looks at some of the core areas of information, skills and knowledge that a business analyst would need, and that anybody who wanted to know anything about business analysis might need to know about. So it covers things like gap analysis, which is a very core technique to business change work these days. It looks at stakeholder analysis and management, business case production, the very sort of essential skills of a business analysis role. Some of the others then, requirements engineering, well, its name almost speaks for itself, is all about making sure we get the requirements right for whatever solution is going to be put in place. Modelling business processes, a very big area again at the moment for business process improvements. One of the new qualifications on that list is the Benefits Management and Business Acceptance Practitioner module. And this is all about looking at the fact that whilst in business change we may be very well versed now with skills and techniques to say this is what the business should do, now we also have a qualification that says, and actually we need to make sure it's fulfilled. If we're going to predict business benefits, let's make sure we do get them. At the bottom there, the IS Consultancy Essentials qualification. And this is one that is based on a lot of detailed knowledge and understanding of exactly what it means to be a consultant. And then an examination that is closed book in which people actually do have to explore different questions and scenarios to express the knowledge that they have in a number of areas. If we look at the first higher level then, the Business Analysis Diploma is actually based on this modular approach that I mentioned. So basically, you have to sit qualifications in 3 what are called core modules. the business analysis essentials, requirements engineering, and organisational context, which is all about the basics of business, including business finance, which is obviously a very, very popular module to attend, as you can imagine. It is felt that business analysts should have all of that core knowledge, and hence the 3 qualifications are required. But anybody who's been involved in business change or business analysis will probably know that the role changes massively between organisations, and even within organisations, business analysts can specialise in a number of areas, and so they have to choose a specialist module. And the list that you can see there are the 4 options that they have available to them. The last 2, systems development essentials and systems modelling techniques, proving that link and that hook into the systems development arena. So it's entirely up to them which one they choose, and obviously if anybody wished to do all 4, then that would be absolutely marvellous. But and I have to say, some people do choose to do more than one, because actually they find that the skills and knowledge in more than one of those specialist modules is actually beneficial for their role. In order to get this higher level qualification, there is an oral examination, and as with all of the oral examinations I'm going to talk about, it's 2 oral examiners, and you're looking at the ability of the candidate to actually put a lot in context and to be able to apply, be able to discuss, be able to get on with people, because these are core attributes of people working at that higher level. The other higher level qualification in business change is the certificate in IS consultancy practice. Only one practitioner level is required for this, although that one is a bigger exam and a longer training course, and I would say a lot more information than one of the other BA practitioner qualifications. But to get the certificate in IS consultancy practice, the individual then has to do an oral examination. And as part of this oral examination, they have to bring along a pre-prepared presentation, which they have to be able to deliver, answer questions on. And so there are specific, again, techniques within that oral that people are expected to be able to carry out and demonstrate to the satisfaction of the examiners. The second part of this area then is to do with the project qualifications. And the project qualifications have a very similar structure: foundation in project management, practitioner level qualifications, and then a higher level qualification. But these qualifications are focused on 2 particular areas: project management and project or program support office. And they provide knowledge and skills to work in those areas. But obviously, again, people working from other disciplines, for example, the business change area, might find some of these qualifications very useful. And I would certainly think that some of them would be very beneficial to people working as consultants or as senior business analysts. In terms of the practitioner level, then, there are 3 qualifications, 2 of which are aligned with project or program support office. So you have PPSO Essentials, which is the core knowledge and base information that people need about the support office environment. And then that can be used to lead on to the PPSO Advanced qualification, which takes that in more detail, has a longer written examination and an oral examination in order to give that advanced qualification for people working in that area. There is also a practitioner qualification more aligned to the project manager, which is estimating for software development, one of the areas of project management that often is very complex and very difficult to get right. And so we have a specific module on estimating, which looks at different techniques and approaches to how we estimate and compares them, and helps to give project managers a lot of detailed knowledge and understanding of the estimating area. The higher level then is the certificate in IS project management. And this qualification has an extensive requirement for the person going for it. And it really is a stamp of excellence, therefore, in project management for anybody who gets this qualification. There is an experience requirement before people can actually go for this qualification. Plus, they have to sit a written exam unless they get an exemption from that because of experience, or possibly a linked qualification in another project management area. But also they have to do an oral examination, which actually makes sure that they can discuss and apply the techniques of project management across the board. So basically, that's it for the business change and projects area. As you can see, a lot of different qualifications, each of which is targeting some very specific areas and some very key areas of skill for working in the business change and projects arena. And now, I would like to hand you back.
I'm going to mingle the two, systems development and testing, just a little bit as we go through. But on the whole, I want to get a balance between the two. As I said before, they both have a foundation. And the first of them, the systems development area, the modules and the diploma, are pretty much the other half of what Debbie was talking about when she talked about the fact that over the years we looked at that whole area as one, and as the role of business analyst has emerged, perhaps the role of developer has changed, the role of designer has certainly changed, the role of architect has come into being, and I think also the role of systems analyst has in a sense all but disappeared, with being polarized into the two directions. Business analysis has just talked about, and then systems development, which is involving some of the skills that might traditionally have been there. So within this area, there's been some quite radical changes over the last year, really in parallel with the alignment. As I said, the alignment of putting all of the qualifications together in a set did show some anomalies, and as we saw in the video earlier, lots of diplomas with maybe 22 modules, much easier now, I think, to access. So within the systems development side, the qualifications here are the foundation in development and delivery I've already mentioned a little bit about. The foundation there is really to give people a full understanding of the full development life cycle, so it does in fact cover some of the business analysis again in there, just to make sure that anyone developing is aware of the business context. But it does, at the foundation level, go right the way through various life cycles for development, including purchasing perhaps the solution, building the solution, begging, stealing, borrowing, or downloading the solution, and also other alternatives. But it's very clearly saying that if you do that, you've got to be able to integrate them to get some sort of use out of them. So it also focuses on how you get things from different places and build things from different places. How do you merge them together? So that's what the foundation tries to cover right through to implementation. The rest of it, the systems development and architecture, once we come to the practitioner level, is very much geared towards a modular nature and looking at different specialisms within that portfolio. I've already talked to one person this morning about this, and it's one of the things that we know we had a problem with this. We didn't want to particularly go for any proprietary approach to systems development. We thought that A, that wasn't the right thing to do with a qualification, but secondly, we didn't want to deter anybody who did have their own approach to developing systems internally from getting qualified in that. And so we've kind of tried to balance the syllabuses here to allow for different frameworks for development, different life cycles for development, and also different methods for modeling. For instance, it's perfectly capable to slot DSDM or an agile approach in terms of development methods, perfectly okay to slot in UML, for those who know about UML, as an approach for modeling systems. And really, we also felt that this world was going to change quite quickly, so we wanted to put the syllabuses and the certification in place such that any new modeling techniques could be slotted in fairly easily. And that's what we've tried to do in there. What it has meant, of course, is that we've been able to pick and mix a little bit and build up what people actually need from these individual components as we go through, which I guess is the way people ought to develop systems anyway. We certainly thought that was true with the syllabuses. By definition, this systems development area links very closely with business analysis, and in fact the diploma in this area uses some of the certificates from that area, some from software testing, and I think going forward it'd be nice to have higher qualifications that pick up on the appropriate ones as required from elsewhere in the portfolio. The examination approach, therefore, is based on flexibility. It's based on the ability to examine in lots of different environments, and I think that will also help with organisations who have their own development approaches. It is delivered and examined via a network, a combination really of accredited training providers and accredited examination providers. This is the way, which we can talk about afterwards if anyone would like to chat about it, how we've managed to examine in these different areas whereby we don't need a standard examination, we can make it more flexible. Again, it is examined via a combination of written and oral. We thought long and hard whether it was important for a systems developer to be able to talk to anybody, and we said, yeah, pretty much fundamental. and so there's an oral for that one as well. And we thought that that was an important qualification and important competence for anyone in development area to have. In terms of the modules that are in here, again, like with the business analysis essentials, we do have an essentials qualification that picks just a small part of the foundation syllabus and takes it into more detail, again, moving beyond knowledge and understanding, moving into the ability to practice and to do things. And all the exams in this area are scenario-based, and they're usually open book, so you don't have to memorize stuff, you simply have to be able to do things, simply. Systems modeling techniques I've already touched on, and that's the one that looks at modeling from both a data process and interface perspective. And those two, with the systems design and implementation techniques, cover the life cycle. You can imagine it was a little tricky to put this together when we decided that we didn't want to be specific on any life cycle, because some life cycles would split those into two distinct parts and others would do them together. So we strongly recommend that those three first ones are taken as a set for anyone thinking of being qualified in this specialism. However, we do know that each of those individual modules could be used by other people who just wanted to specialize in one of them. IT architecture was another one that had kind of floated around on its own, and we thought it was very much part of this systems development portfolio. And the new one, Debbie mentioned a new one that's come along in the area she talked about. The next one coming in this area is about integrating and customizing off-the-shelf solutions. Many organizations are buying packages, buying component solutions, and having to integrate them together, and that's what this new qualification is hoping to address. Also in there, although it may be a strange one to have in here, but this is change, configuration, and release management from a development point of view. The more individual components of a systems development you have, the more likely you need to coordinate them. The higher level qualification is the systems development diploma, or diploma in systems development. Quite key for anyone who's been involved in ISEB since before it was even called ISEB, because the whole thing did start with a systems analysis and design qualification many, many years ago, long before my time. I wish it was. But now what we've done is realize that that needed to be replaced, and it no longer exists. There is no longer a diploma in systems analysis and design. The two diplomas in this area now are the business analysis and the systems development, although very much of the skills have still been maintained. The core modules for that are, as I said before, development essentials, modeling, and design and implementation. The specialisms, as in all cases, and again, one shouldn't be limited to doing one if you need more for your career, but the one to choose really points the direction in which you see your job as a systems developer, and that would be looking, if you like, up the life cycle to business analysis, down the life cycle to testing perhaps, although that may well be a parallel activity anyway, but also whether you need architectural view of the world, so that would be a sensible option for some people. And I promised myself I wouldn't say option, I'd say specialism, because we're not calling them options anymore. And the final specialism, which is integrating off-the-shelf packages, I mentioned already. So putting that set together gets up to the higher level within that qualification. The other sector within the area I'm talking about, the green sector, if you like, is software testing. Very, very popular subject. And I was going to do testing at the end of these talks rather than now, but I knew we'd run out of time. So I thought I'd better do testing while we still had time. Right? And we're just going to run out on time for security, which is more worrying, I guess, but anyway. Okay, the levels here, the foundation in software testing has been built in conjunction with the ISTQB, the Information Systems Testing Qualifications Board, and is a jointly owned and built certificate in the foundation level, which covers a very broad base of testing throughout all of its flavors. A very popular certificate that's been around for some time. Building on that, there has been the software testing practitioner, and it's kind of a little bit of an announcement, I suppose, for those who don't know about the practitioner that's coming up in a second, in terms of the way we've slightly restructured that going forwards. It's still being done, but in terms of the launch of the portfolio, there's some changes there to talk about in a minute. Practitioner obviously covers the more detailed subjects, and I think there is an opportunity to have, a little bit like we've done with the other modules, more specialist areas for people specialising in particular aspects of testing, but always building on the foundation that they've got. Right? And there is an ISEB textbook that supports the syllabuses in these areas. By working with the ISTQB, obviously international best practice and standard is supported, and I'm not sure we've mentioned it a vast amount, but in fact that's probably pretty true of all of the qualifications and certainly all the foundations. So the thing with software testing is the software testing practitioner, that was its name, wasn't really in the middle part of the wheel. It was really at the top part of the wheel, but had the name practitioner. Right? As we felt the middle part of the wheel was practitioner, we felt we ought to move it up to where it should be. And I'm afraid we've kind of had to change its name to do that. And in doing so, we will be referring to it as the software testing specialist, and that will usually involve taking a series of individual qualifications which will now be at the practitioner level. Initially, for those who know the practitioner, that will just be breaking the existing qualification down into component parts. So anyone who achieves those component parts will automatically be up at the higher level, and going forwards, one will be able to just take the components. Again, the message there is, as I think I've said a few times, not just so that the tester you would expect to do all the components, but you may well find that people who specialise outside of this area of the wheel will not need the same level of detail of testing, but they need more than foundation. Right? And so the first two off the press, if you like, for that, working titles, and may well change when the work goes into more detail, are software testing analysis and software test management. So in other words, kind of doing the testing and managing the testing process are the first two modules to grow out of the existing practitioner. And those are being reworked as we speak. So that's the software testing side of it. Now I'd like to hand over to Maggie Neller, who's going to talk about assets, infrastructure, and services.
IT services are made up of a number of components, and the IT assets are the different components that might make up an IT service, like applications, like software, like data, like people competences. So if you get the meaning, this is why we've separated the quadrant into these two areas. So first of all, IT assets and infrastructure qualifications. These are all about managing those assets. And the foundation in IT assets and infrastructure is a new foundation, which we're very excited about launching. It's applicable to candidates from a number of different disciplines, because software developers, for instance, usually need to develop assets as part of the system that they're developing. And of course, they've got a strong link to IT service management. There are higher level qualifications for more specialist practitioners, and we'll talk about those in a minute. And all of these qualifications adopt a life cycle approach to management and acquisition of an asset, and they are based on industry-wide best practice. The training is delivered through a network of accredited training providers. The exams are mainly by written exams, but there are a few which are delivered through multiple choice exam and by interview. In terms of the practitioner qualifications in this area, as you can see, that there are some specialisms. And really, because managing assets needs slightly different skills from managing services, and each asset has got a separate set of skills which are involved in managing the various life cycles of the assets. The higher level qualification, Manager Certificate in Infrastructure Management, has been around now for about 2.5 years. It's growing in popularity in the UK, and also we're getting quite a lot of overseas candidates taking that exam. It's based on industry best practice, delivered through either a 3 or 5 day course and a written examination, a 3-hour written examination, which is based on case study. So now I'll move on to IT service management qualifications. These are hugely popular, taken all around the world, and they've really been growing in popularity over the last 10 or so years, 10 or more years. I guess if you think about infrastructure, the sorts of roles that you might be thinking about are things like technical architect, technical support, infrastructure manager, whereas in IT service management, it's more about managing the delivery of services to the business through service level agreements, managing the various aspects of delivering that service through changes and incidents and events. And we'll see that the practitioner modules specialize in a number of those different areas. The foundation in IT service management is one of those exams which I personally believe everyone who goes into IT should take. Either whether if you're embarking on a career in IT or already in a career or even years into a career in IT, because it's just so fundamental to practically everything that you do in IT. If you think about it, when you're developing a system, what you're really doing is developing an end product, and that end product is the IT service. It's the thing which gives benefits to the business. It's not until the service is there running in operation that the business starts to get those benefits. And managing those services is really, to me, what IT is all about in businesses today. The foundation exam is also available online, and it's been translated into a number of different languages. We're thinking also about translating some of the other exams in this area into other languages. There are many practitioner level qualifications and a higher level qualification, the Manager's Certificate in IT Service Management, which is very popular. All these qualifications are based on industry best practice, and they're all aligned to ISO 20000, which is the international standard for IT service management. The training is delivered through a global network of training providers, and it truly is global, every part of the world. And these qualifications are internationally recognized and held by many, many thousands of people, and really expected by employers, wanted and expected by the people that are managing their services. There are a whole range of practitioner qualifications available currently. So you can see the first list of individual disciplines, and each of these is given on the basis of a 3-day, typically, 3-day training course. And then, because they're very practical courses, the exam is a combination of a 1-hour multiple choice exam and a 1-hour written assignment. And both of those are quite practical and based on a case study. So you can see that there are 10 individual practitioner qualifications, and we've also recognized that it's quite a useful thing for a lot of organizations to take qualifications in a little bit more depth than the foundation, but covering a logical grouping of the service management disciplines. So we've started to implement clustered practitioner qualifications, and the first of those is in the process of being launched now, Release and Control. I suppose it's quite applicable for smaller organizations where they might have individuals or small teams running a number of related processes, but also in large organizations where they're starting to implement multidiscipline teams, looking at whole sets of processes which naturally go together. Coming very soon, we're developing at the moment the second of the clustered practitioner qualifications, Service Resolution, which is all about service desk incident management and problem management. And we're also quite excited about the other new practitioner qualification, Planning to Implement and Improve, which is all about implementing service management or aspects of service management, and looking at service improvement programs and how we might review the service and make improvements to it and move up the chain of quality, if you like, within service management. In the not too distant future, I hope, the remaining 2 clustered qualifications will be implemented. Service Assurance and Protection,